Hey everybody, it's the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and you are watching the weekly Ringer series here on clanofthegraywolf.com. Now, as you'll probably all notice right off the bat, I'm not in any of my usual settings today. Actually recording in a pinch, which I have to do sometimes when I need to get the video recorded and done, and other situations don't work out quite as well to allow me to do so. So, in a pinch, here's where we are. That's okay. By the way, there was a little bit of, I think it ties in a little bit. I'm going to be trying to again get the relaunch going as we're trying to relaunch really everything with the website. But as it stands, there are a few more kinks technically I have to work out. But I'm almost to the point where I think I'll be able to do it. And I think someone, and I forgot, it might have been Habit, made a comment this week about how they're still looking for the MP3 on the Ringer. I did hear from a couple people that said that they would really like to have that. And so I always thought that would be part of if I decided to go relaunch the video for some reason, or relaunch the series. So I'm thinking that relaunching the series, including an MP3, will be a part of what that relaunch really looks like. So for all of you that that might have been looking for that, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a regular part of how we proceed. Many of you are really interested in having an MP3 so you can listen to the Weekly Ringer at work. I have no problem in being able to provide that. All right, so what do we got to do today to attack the business at hand, as it were? Got to clear up last week's question, which had to do with kind of getting us in the mood for Oscar season. Um, you know, uh, Talking about some of the best films of the last year and some of our thoughts and feelings about those, and why or why not they might not be the best, or they might be the best movies of the last year. Talk a little bit about that, get some of your own thoughts about it, and try to give you my own thoughts as well. Once I do kind of pick one, because I think it's just kind of like picking the best movie. That was the question I asked. I want to move on to a question next week, which is decidedly more food-based. So if you've been really waiting on the Weekly Ringer for a food-based question, I think you're not going to be disappointed today. And I will leave it at that. With that being said, though, I do want to welcome two more people to the Weekly Ringer. I think we had two new folks this week. I always like to bring out the folks that that are new to the community, maybe commenting for the first time. And we love comments on the Weekly Ringer, and we're always glad to have them. So I always like to bring attention to those folks. New this week, I think we've got two, as I said, On the Brink 87, who I think made a comment, a pithy comment about the scenery last week. So if you didn't like the scenery last week, you get this scenery this week. Anyway, love pithy comments just as much as I love the comments that constructively add to the conversation. So thank you for that. Great to have you on board with the Weekly Ringer. And Justin SZ as well. Welcome to both of you. It's great to have you both on board, and glad to have you as a part of the Weekly Ringer. All right, so as I mentioned before, we have the question from last week, which I asked you to answer, and it really worked. It was really a function of me thinking about the Oscars with the Golden Globes and the nominations coming, and right around the corner, the Oscars are going to be upon us, so on and so forth. I thought it might be interesting to go and actually talk about movies and some of the best movies that we've seen. We hadn't talked about movies in a while. I thought it'd be a good way for us to kind of bridge that gap, and also just kind of focus on a film topic for a while. A lot of great suggestions, a lot of great suggestions, and many that I think I would easily have picked and chosen myself. I'm not sure there were many selections that I would have chosen that were beyond this list, if at all. I will start out by saying this. I'm not sure I go to the movies as much as I used to. I don't really know why that is. It might be because of the ubiquity of Netflix. It might be because of, I don't even really know, maybe even Redbox or things like that, which I don't use really that often at all, especially with Netflix. But movies are just so available now. It's tough to go, especially the 3D movies, with how expensive they are. It's tough to get up the ambition to just kind of get out of your chair and go and see one of the movies that are out for any particular reason. But that being said, even though I haven't seen all the films that you guys mentioned, and I'll be glad to mention where I did or did not see the movie, I think I think there were definitely some that I saw that I think are worthy of mention, which is why we have the question and why I was interested to see if you guys felt the same way. So, and maybe the question could have been, what was was the movie you liked the least? And I'm sure there could have been some interesting answers there as well. But in any case, we have Sly HD coming through with Drive as a selection, which is, in my mind, fantastic. I saw this movie not on the tail end of its cycle, but a couple weeks after it had been released. So I didn't see it kind of when I don't think I ever see a movie when it first comes out, because I always want to have a little bit of time for people to say what they're going to say about it, but also really being able to kind of take the next best path toward movies that I really do want to see and don't want to see with a room full of people that are screaming. Or has anybody else kind of see people as more discourteous than they've ever seen in movie theaters now? Like, people just don't care. Like, the entire world revolves around them. They're like checking their cell phone. They're talking to people. I've seen people answer the phone in the middle of a movie. And you just sit there and you say to yourself, how do these people function or exist? I don't understand that at all whatsoever. It just gets on my nerves. And if it's one of you, I'm not even going to say sorry. Like, just stop. Don't do that, because that's really, really rude. But in any case, I always see a movie after it comes out, because I like to kind of let those people shuffle through and then hopefully have the theater to myself, or whatever the case might be, whoever I'm going with, so on and so forth. I generally don't see movies by myself. I don't think I've ever done that, as a matter of fact, now that I mention that. Anyway, but you get the point with whoever I'm going with, and we hang out, and then you can kind of make comments in the middle of the movie. Nobody cares because it's just you. Anyway, I saw Drive a couple weeks after it came out, and I have to say that this movie was a shock to me. It was a visceral kind of shock. I expected going to see a movie about action and driving, kind of like stunts and all these kinds of things that I thought were just going to be awesome. And the movie was very much not what I expected. It was not an action movie per se. It wasn't even really a driving movie per se. It was more kind of an art piece and a character piece than anything. And that being said, I really, really like the character piece. And so much so that my real ambition was to go this Halloween dressed as the lead character from Drive. That's how much I really enjoyed the movie. And this movie was not for everyone. It's okay. It doesn't mean that, the movie that we select here on the Weekly Ringer has to be the one that everyone likes the most. But Drive was very well received by critics. It had some ridiculous rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It was something like 92%, which is something you never see on Rotten Tomatoes, which is awesome. And I have since seen many people, or heard from many people that went to go see the movie that just came back and went, wow, that was awful, and I had to leave the theater. So, something that has that kind of a reaction, it has to be, is a force to be reckoned with in some degree. How many people went and actually, saw Avatar? Thousands, millions of people went and saw Avatar. I'm so glad I didn't, because when I finally did see the movie, I thought it was just absolutely horrible. So I was really, really glad that I didn't buy the hype. So sometimes the hype is good, sometimes the hype is bad. In Drive's case, I thought it was well fit. I really enjoyed the movie, and I think it's worthy of mention as one of the best in the year. If you love 80s movies, if you love the kind of art house kinds of films, I think you'll probably enjoy this in both cases. The music is just unbelievable. So anyway, Drive is a great suggestion. Thank you, Sly, for the suggestion there. DTX 180 nominates Moneyball. This was a movie I hadn't seen, but have definitely marked as a movie I have to pick up. So I'm very excited to see Moneyball. I think Moneyball has a very good chance of winning the Oscar. I think there's a lot of buzz around it. I know the story of Moneyball because of obviously being a sports fan, but also so I have kind of the synopsis of the book and things like this. Friends that have read the book and told me to read the book. The book is fantastic. That the movie is based off of, and I've heard that this movie is just a force to be reckoned with. I love the storyline. I love the nature of the film, and I think it's one of those things that creeps up on people. Every once in a while, a movie comes out where people expect something from it. It's a movie about sports, and what is this going to really be about? So only people that like sports are going to like this movie. And what's interesting to me is that Moneyball is not, at its essence, really a movie about sports, and that's one of the things I really, really like about it. And so I think that's definitely on the list, and I think it's a great suggestion. And whether you've seen it or not, and I have not, I think you'd agree it deserves to be on the list of the best movies of the last year. Ferrier mentioned Horrible Bosses, and I wanted to talk about this because I don't know if it's maybe the best, right? I don't know if it's necessarily the best movie that I saw, but I would say that it is. It is one of the better movies I would put on the list because it was just a great movie. It was funny. It was very funny. Um, the movie really kind of took me in, and I really laughed very hard at places, and I don't do that at movie theaters. So The Hangover 2 was a big disappointment for me because it was basically the same movie over again. That being said, the same thing with a little bit of different spin can be really, really funny. I'm not saying I didn't laugh, but Horrible Bosses for me was a much better movie and really easy to get into. All right, so let's see here. Sonic Rose brought up a couple, but I try to limit everybody to one just in the movie that they actually vote for, or the selection they actually make here in the Weekly Ringer. So Sonic Rose chose Captain America, and this is one movie that I saw the week it came out, so I kind of violated my own rule, but I was so damn excited about it that I had to get out to see this movie, and I have to say. I was really, really, really disappointed with Captain America. I just thought it wasn't nearly as good as I thought it was going to be. I just thought the whole kind of Avengers thing was going to come out, and it was going to be this kind of raw kind of Captain America kind of experience, and it turns out instead to be this kind of joke. I mean, it's very. I hated that movie. I thought it was really, really bad. I thought everybody in it was miscast, and I mean everyone. I think everyone in Captain America was miscast. I really couldn't stand the characters, the way that they interact, the depth they have, just wasn't there at all. It was just a kind of a caricature of itself, you know. And the dialogue in it was worse than a George Lucas movie. I mean, it was so utterly predictable and boring that I didn't want to have any part of it. And the and I'll go ahead and say another reason why I can't stand it, and that is that Captain America should be Captain America, right? Now I'm gonna go off the beaten path here a little bit and say that first of all, obviously I'm recording the show in America. I am an American. And if I'm going to see a movie called Captain America, I want it to be about a champion of America. And, no offense to any of you guys out there that are from other countries. I know we have plenty, right? But if it's Captain Canada, I'm going to expect to go see Captain Canada. And I'm going to expect him to stand up and do something that's very Canadian, right? Whatever that might be. Captain America was the most neutered, I hate to use the word I want to use, but I think you guys understand what it is. Watered down kind of version of Captain America that I've ever seen or could have hoped for. Why in the world do they kind of denazify, the Red Skull, and why do they really posit Captain America in such a kind of wussy kind of a light? And I just really didn't like that. I'm not talking about the origin story itself. I get the origin story that this was a kid that kind of got beat up and everything and then turns around. But I didn't buy the characters. I didn't buy any of it. And the dialogue was really bad. And everything just didn't work for me. I could not stand Captain America. That is on top of the list of movies that were big disappointments for me this year that I was really, really hopeful. So much so that I saw it the first week it came out. I mean, I expected when I saw Captain America to start watching it and just get up and start leading USA chants. I just expected it to be just this full on, guns blazing kind of